100 cars, just for the underdogs. The teller just asked me how I want the cashy. I told him 100 large. I want them gold wraps, printed up double R. Big dog, big dog, big dog. Roof, popping out saying I ain't great. Ooh, Biscayne drive, I cut off my roof. You know how I'm coming this take. Two, tell her, get out the way. 4x4 big phantom. They thought I was canceled. I piped up and flipped the channel. LST on the brim, they ain't think we win. I just top 10 my brother. They ain't safe when you with the underdog. I might bite, get rubbed. I'm trying to have paper, Robert Kraft and put a Tom Brady on a staff. Pull up on Dre, talking, keep with the wave, straight out of club out the garage. I got 100 cars, just for the underdogs. The teller just asked me how I want the cashy. I told him 100 large. I want them gold wraps, printed up double R.
Alright, we're here. I think I'm going to do the whole thing now where whenever we're just sat in the lobby waiting rather than just leaving you on, you know, the lobby screen with nothing else to say. I'll just kind of use that time to get everything set up extra here. So, yeah, heading into qualifying, we're going to get Sergio in, and we'll be here for the entire evening at Monza. Of course, thank you for joining us, regardless whether you're live or on replay, because right now, as we're doing this live, Germany and I think Paraguay are playing, so one of those where obviously I know football is going to be on the minds of most, but we are here for a little bit of racing tonight. Certainly so. Said the grid looks good, man. I was really concerned, you know, it's during a World Cup matchup. Obviously, we're not going to get Marcel Dirty Hippo. He is literally German, so you're never going to have Marcel be here and choose to play a VFL F1 day when Germany are playing, are you? So, I mean, you can kind of let that one off, but the grid beyond that looks pretty decent, man. So I imagine Sergio will be with us shortly anyway, and we'll be good to go from there. Make sure this time that my mic is actually turned up so he can hear me this time. No wet races for the foreseeable future, crying emoji. You never know. We see some strange conditions before. I've seen it rain in non-rainy places before, but grid's strong, dude. Lucky, Michael, Kieran, Bailey, Polymer, Zinc, Reverse, Tism, Tiller, Chizzy, Surty, Parry, Shadow's Gunner, Henry, Bobby Leon, CB46, Jamsey, Jacob, Cons, Blazer Guns, and one other just joined. So there you go. And still, there may be another couple coming before the 18-minute qualifying evaporates on us, because obviously people are playing FIFA and so forth and so forth. It's forced dries. There's a bug with wet races in people's batteries. Well, there you go. The more you know. Sergio, good evening to you, son, sir, boss.
Good evening, Dad.
Have you heard about this? We forced dry conditions because there's currently a bug with wet races and people's batteries. Have you heard about that?
I have not heard about that, no, but I think we should do a wet race just for a laugh.
Just for banter. I would love it. I think Serty would love it. He'd have a reason to put on his intermediates. But I mean, listen, Sergio, I was saying just before you got it, you know, World Cup games on, so maybe you'd fear the worst for the grid. But, I mean, overall, it's a pretty strong grid. Again, no return for VRL Keiran. It starts to beckon the question, maybe VRL Keiran is not going to defend his title and is just going to sit the season out. I actually don't know. I mean, he was talking and communicating a couple of weeks ago like he was in for this, but maybe he'll retire on a high. Maybe Michael will have to make a decision on that. But no VRL Keiran again. But regardless of that, still a strong grid despite the football. DomParry's here. Chissy's here. CB46, no doubt, is going to be wanting to have a better race than what he did last week. We know he on his day can be excellent. Bobby Leon's, of course, as well. Another top driver, Jamsey, who performs so well as well. Tiller and all the cast are out. There's not really a kind of, you know, a big hole of opportunity, which I think a lot of the drivers today may be showing up. Maybe like your Luckies and your Zincs or your Pollen Breaths, or maybe even your Conses and Blazer Guns. Maybe they'd be thinking, okay, well, we don't really care too much about the football. Maybe some of the big boys do. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to grab podium today. It's not going to be the case, though.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about this track, which I'm kind of looking forward to, is that it should be very good for these cars in terms of overtaking, because of the new systems in play. Obviously, battery is going to be a major thing. Hopefully, obviously, there is no bugs in the dry. But yeah, there's a lot of long straights, and there's only a few sort of sharp corners. There's not many points these cars have to slow down massively. I think this is one of the tracks with the highest average speed as well overall throughout a lap. So that should add some nice spins to it, and yeah, hopefully give us some nice tight battles as well all over the grid.
Well, the other thing as well, completely, I'm going to touch on the track as well. I reminded myself before I came live to remind us about this as well. Tonight, me and you, according to Michael, are on yell duty. Now, what that means is that if we start to see someone lagging uncontrollably like we saw last week, we've got to immediately kind of flag it up on the stream, flag it up in the Discord, notify the driver and ask them to retire. So if we see anything like we saw last week where we saw people teleporting left and right on the track, it's down to us to kind of, make the driver aware and just politely ask them to retire. So we don't want any deaths on the grid tonight is basically the message from Michael. I mean, back on the track, though, I mean, Monza's always a pretty nice one. I don't really remember any issues or incidents in Monza over the past few seasons. It always feels like it's a kind of track that gets people, I think, back in the feel again for F1, especially after an off season. You got these kind of narrow bends, these turns, these chicanes almost that can be quite, a bit deceptive. But overall, it's a track historically for VFL. It doesn't have a lot of penalties, doesn't have a lot of safety cars. Does that sound about right for you, or are you expecting some sort of collision and drama here tonight?
No, I think you got a spot on. There shouldn't be any safety cars. If there is, I'll be surprised. And it is all going to be tight and close racing. The only problem we will have, which you have in every sim race platform, every racing game that has this track on, is turn one.
Yep.
Now, turn one approach for this track is a case of everyone thinks they can win it in one corner. So you'll have everyone bombing down to turn one, and people will go four wide, and I guarantee you now we'll see at least 4 cars take the off-road and go through the safety barriers. So no doubt we will see cars skip through the first turn. I reckon at least 4 cars in the first lap.
Yeah.
But that's the only potential for hazards, is when people go for attacking moves there all throughout the race. It's not just lap 1. That is the most dangerous time if you're racing around this track in any car, any league, wherever you're doing it. It's always the worst time, and the most dangerous is that turn 1 after the start. But once you get through that, they've just got to watch when they're going side by side, and just try and keep an eye on your tyres as well, because the last thing you want to do is go into a battle in turn 1 and not have any grip in your tyres left.
Well, it's actually poetic, because as you were talking about the tight turns there and people hitting the gravel, I was literally spectating on Bailey for a brief minute, and then boom, right onto the gravel he goes. Going to also shift my camera up before I forget for the main race, so you guys can see the map this evening. Andrew as well saying, I did tick to be a reserve, but realised my Xbox Live ran out. That is the definition of a tough scene, but hopefully Andrew will be able to commentate on your driving sooner rather than later, my friend. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, who knows. But there you go, you can see the map in the bottom right there, and of course we've got all the information on the left hand side as per usual. Thank you, Lucky, as well, for the resub. Good evening to you. 39 months, appreciate you massively. I think the thing is as well is I remember a little while back we had Monza, I think 2 seasons ago now, and I think we did have wet conditions on Monza, and that's what created a little bit more chaos. So it depends really. I think in these dry conditions and with this grid that we have, I think this will be, maybe to some of the more casual F1 people watching this from the FIFA side or even the UFC side, this will be a bit more of a, I don't want to call it this, but I kind of have to. It's the only word that really kind of makes sense, but more of a boring race, more of a standardized race. There'll be limited kind of, crashes. There'll be limited kind of, obstacles to get past besides that first sector that Sergio described. But you're not going to be seeing, missiles, flying through the track. It's not a Monaco where, the tight turns can create incidents and issues, and it's not in Azerbaijan where, you have those kind of tight bends near the castle. I think it's Baku anyway, that I call it the castle track. I'm not too familiar with it still, but I think
Azerbaijan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so Azerbaijan, and I think it's on the calendar this season as well. So if you want to see kind of death and despair, trust me, Azerbaijan and the calendar, look out for that one. That's got the biggest kind of kill list for a VFL race night. It's a graveyard of cars. It is there. Bobby Leon says it's going to be a chaotic race. Okay, so Bobby saying he disagrees with everything we're saying. He's saying it's going to be a chaotic one tonight. He's got a qualifying ban for myself. Hopefully for the next race, got paid on the 8th, says Andrew. Well, mate, I'm hoping we get to see you because I know you were buzzing to get involved last week. I think the last sector of 1 is going to catch a lot of people out. I mean, I think you're right. I think definitely you're right. And I think Sergio's got it bang on. The first kind of lap, the first turn, just historically, in every race we do is always kind of like, you know, you're gritting your teeth, you're kind of gripping on for dear life and praying you're not in the melee, and then it kind of gets all leveled out, and then it's when it starts to get a bit aggressive. Are we going to see trains on this track tonight? Yes, I do think we will. It's a kind of VFL guarantee in Monza. You always see the grid kind of split up into 3, maybe 4, because of the lobby increasing by 1 or 2 people, depending how many more join in the next 9 minutes. But you do often see kind of the top 3 veer off into the distance, and then you see this just ungodly amount of traffic in the middle of the grid from, say, 4th down to 12th. And it's that kind of, you know, pack, it's that kind of train where it can get aggressive, and where maybe, you know, those easy turns turn into you know, difficult turns, because you have to be a little bit more brave and courageous to finish as high as possible. I think that is certainly a possibility tonight. If I had to say to you, Sergio, tonight, over, under 3 safety cars, what are you thinking? Do you think we'll see a lot of safety cars tonight then, or do you feel like we'll be quite clean?
I mean, it's always tricky to tell, but I feel like it's got to be on the left side tonight. I mean, track's fairly wide. There's a lot of straight line circuit around here. I think the only time we'll see a safety car, if at all, is from debris on turn 1. And because I know that that's quite a popular thing for safety cars after this big update, was that any debris from any cars, a virtual at minimum, comes out.
Yeah.
As we saw in the Austrian Grand Prix, actually, that just happened on Sunday. Literally, a bollard was in the track, just a singular bollard, and a virtual safety car came out until it was cleared. So, yeah, you will see potentially those for any debris on circuit, but the main thing will be if there's anyone being stupid down the straights. Now, you do see drivers squeezing other racers out, and squeezing is part of racing, don't be wrong, but there is an easy tendency amongst racers, and I'm not going to name names because there's no one here in this lobby in particular, but I've just seen it in sim racing a lot before, where egos and heads get a bit hot, and squeezing turns into sandwiching against the wall. So if you see that kind of action tonight, which hopefully we don't, but in racing there's always a chance of it, because, you know, tensions can flare and feelings can soar up. So if we do see that, that's the only chance the safety car is going to come out. Apart from that, we shouldn't be seeing one at all, really.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that can maybe sway back, push back, and I agree with everything you say, but, you know, I have to be devil's advocate. Maybe you could say, still early in the season, we saw last season and, of course, last week, the first race of the new season always shows an element of rustiness. Second race week of the season, it usually gets a little bit better, but maybe there's still an element of rustiness. Do you think rustiness could play a part in this tonight?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely on the cards, especially with this new update. You know, some of these people on the grid may not be confident in these new cars yet. So, yeah, I'd say 100% bang on. Yeah, we could see a bit of rustiness here this evening.
It's fair enough. Well, Andrew there as well saying, totally agree with our point. Even after the first turn, I think there'll be elbows out, and then the second chicane will catch lots of people, especially trying to overtake. And then Surtees didn't even know about the safety car and debris kind of logic there, but he says if it does, that's fucking amazing. So he's a big fan of that. Please, that is not an invitation, Surtees, to start drink driving on the track and trying to intentionally get your car to burst into flames just to get the track littered with shit. We would prefer that not to happen. We'll have a nice clean race. Certainly do. Well, listen, 6.5 minutes to go. Qualifying seems to zoom by now these days, Sergio, but a 1:19.8 followed by a 1:19.9 so far by DomParry and Chissy. Impressed with those times, or expecting to be a little bit better?
Yeah, no, fantastic times. I reckon we might see a low 1:19 at a push. No doubt whenever I've said that at all, commentating F1, there's always been someone that's just blown me out of the park and then gone a second quicker than what I've expected to see. So we'll see what happens. But very good times from DomParry and Chissy. Very good times indeed. Obviously, Chissy not too far away with the 1:20, but you could see how even the grid is until you get to 16th and 17th. You know, all cars within 2 seconds of each other, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And as we saw from obviously the actual F1 around Austria earlier, yesterday, it was a fact of 1 and 2 seconds is not a lot of time in this at all anymore. With these new power boost systems, it really does mean that those gaps close up a lot quicker than what you would expect. And I think if we're using the 2025 cars around Monza, we're probably in for a boring race this evening, but we're not. With the new systems, I think that's going to make it exhilarating, and it's going to keep these drivers on high alert as well. Overtakes can happen anywhere from at any point.
The other kind of thing I wanted to touch on again, and I feel like it's just a recurring theme, but it's a part of the kind of pre-build-up segment that we kind of do now. It's Ferrari hour. We'll talk about Tiller and Henry again. You know, this great team that once upon a time was Tiller and Shadow's Gunner. Didn't have this great kind of, you know, introduction last week, did Tiller and Henry. A bit of a lackluster finish from them. Do you think, again, there's pressure on them, or are you looking at other teams? Looking at Jamsey and Chissy? I mean, who is the team tonight? Again, only 2 races, and I understand that. But what team are you really looking at tonight saying, yeah, we need to see something really big from you this evening?
So, dissecting the question a little bit, let's look at who we need to see a positive performance from. That would be Ferrari. If you want, let's go with what some people call the nerdy side of it. They're representing Team Ferrari. It's an Italian team. We are at an Italian circuit. This is their home ground. In terms of football, you expect to perform well at home, right? So that is Ferrari's aim. We need to see something good from Ferrari this evening. Putting the pressure on them, but that's how it should be. You're in front of your big bosses on their home turf. You need to perform. However, when you're up against the likes of Red Bull, with Jamsey, Chissy, you're going to struggle, especially looking at how it is in qualifying in a minute. Like, granted, Ferrari haven't set any times. Those times from the 2 Red Bull drivers are strong, very strong.
Yeah.
But an outsider team I kind of want to bring people's attention to, because I feel it's very important, is the current leader, DomParry, in the Audi car, and the VRT Dylan Evans as well. I have to admit, Dylan is a name I've not seen before. Don't know too much about. And I'll be honest, I feel like they might be the outsider team in a way, because my memory is terrible anyway, but I don't remember speaking too much about Audi last week. So this could be an outsider team jumping in there and saying, hey, look, there's more than 2 teams in this sort of 2-horse race here for the title. So, you know, that might be a team to watch for. So we need to see a good performance from Ferrari, but a team that could perform good tonight, who may not need to, is Audi.
No, that's fair. I think as well, it's a great point as well with someone like DomParry every season, regardless if he is, you know, in the championship race or just, you know, as an outsider, he always provides moments. It may not be consistently, but he always provides certain tracks in the season where he just looks to kind of remind the people that he's racing against that he was once upon a time one of the very best to ever do it. So, I mean, with this qualifying time that he's set right now, or 1:19.5, he is looking very much up for it tonight. But again, this old timer, in terms of experience, has got a lot of competition on the grid tonight. I mean, just looking at that top 5 alone, even the top 6, if you're including Dylan Evans, as you said, is this kind of dark horse tonight that no one really knows too much about, the enigma of Audi. I mean, this top 6 is looking incredible. And then when you add in the fact that you've got Bobby Leons, who is on a qualifying ban and will have to kind of start from the back, we know he's going to be up there. There's a real kind of conundrum again, which we love, as to who is actually going to get podium positions tonight, because I can't call it. Again, who knows? I would love to see a Keiran 19 or a Michael, you know, have another fantastic race. I mean, McLaren, I mean, Michael's got to be gutted that the Germany game is on tonight, because to have, you know, Dirty Hippo Marcel with him last week, and they both performed so brilliantly, and now, you know, it's kind of like a week off, and then you got to get back to it, and week 3's got to be a bit of a kick in the nuts. But for Michael, he too has got to be feeling like he's in good form after last week. So who knows? Could be a day for the underdog. Penny for your thoughts then, Sergio. Your podium, I mean, in any order, go for it. I mean, it's really difficult for me to even name it tonight.
I reckon, so we'll go bottom to top, and I reckon in 3rd place we're going to see CB46.
Okay.
Then second we're going to see Jamesy, and then I think first is going to be Chissy.
Okay,
I think Dom's going to do well, but I'm just wondering about how the start's going to go. Just based off experience on what I've seen from drivers driving through traffic and congested parts, I've seen more from those three names I've mentioned than I have DomParry. So I'm hoping Dom will prove me wrong, but that is going to be in my top three, just based on what I've seen.
Excuse me, I muted my mic while I sneezed. Not for you, Sergio. You get to hear me sneeze, but for the stream I did. But I think it's an interesting one. I think there's definitely going to be a couple of drivers tonight that like Monza, that will feel like Monza is their opportunity to surprise not only themselves but the commentary team. From what I understand, always it's a universally liked track. I've never heard anyone in the VFL community, maybe, you know, if your experience on the outside is different, but I've never heard anyone kind of go, oh, Monza, moan and groaning, it's a terrible track, I hate it. It's maybe people could say it's a little bit boring, but I don't really get that same feeling about it, you know, being a boring track as I would some of the others that get regular complaints. But regardless, whether you love it or hate it, qualifying coming to an end, 2.5 minutes remaining, so put your best times in here, fellas, and then we will be off and away for game week 2, or race week 2, should I say, for our Season 5 F1 League. And again, a big thank you to everyone tonight watching, even if you're not competing. Fellas like Andrew there, I hope to see you shortly in this league. You'll be a great addition. And it will be an interesting one tonight, absolutely. So we will wait and see, absolutely. I've got people asking me randomly in DMs if I can give them their VFL login details. Tell him to contact me. All right. Well, of course, I think the big interesting kind of part of this is just how quickly does that's a wow. Okay, leave it until the last second. Stray my point to Henry there, a 1:19.4 to just pip DomParry of top spot. DomParry, of course, though, maybe still got some time to set one last go of things. But it'd be interesting for me as well to see how quickly Bobby Leons deals with his position in the grid. Usually someone that starts at the top and usually kind of finishes near the top, but tonight we'll have to start at the back and climb upwards. That is qualifying over. And if there were any doubts about maybe the quality of Tiller's new Ferrari partner Henry, he's just silenced those critics with a phenomenal finish time there, a 1:19.418 there from Henry this evening. So with that, qualifying is in the books, and we get ready to go into race week 2 tonight. And of course, it breaks another record. We had 21 last week, we got 22 this week, so this is officially once again the biggest grid that we have done in a VFL F1 session. And of course, that can only get bigger and better. 24 is the maximum, and I imagine we are going to hit that at some point this season. That's going to be exciting for not only us but for Michael as well. He's put so much hard work into the league. Of course, as per usual, if you are listening along to the stream, please do not ready up until Michael says so. Lucky got a penalty for it last week. Do not be doing the same. So the ready up time, of course, is 10:08 p.m. Do not ready up until 10:08 p.m. Final thoughts then from you, Sergio, before we get into all the action. I mean, what is the make or break then tonight? Do you think it is that first lap and that first sector, or do you think it's going to be maybe down the stretch when we're in lap 15, 16, and there are going to be those aggressive battles going on and just keeping you cool? What do you view the keys to victory in this track today, if you are someone like a Chissy or a DomParry?
Key thing, get through turn 1, find your rhythm early. That's the as short and simple advice as that. That's the advice I've always been given when I'm doing my sim racing. It's mainly in the GT3s, but racing regardless, it all matters the same, and it translates to every form of race car as well. Whether you're racing a Ford K8 or an F1 car, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Get through turn 1, especially at this circuit. Find your rhythm. Once you find your rhythm, then just focus on your race. Don't worry about the cars around you. Obviously, you've got to avoid collisions, don't get me wrong, but what you've got to do is make sure you're hitting your points, your braking markers, getting the correct point when you're accelerating out of a corner, making sure you're not spinning up the back tyres and causing them to overheat, because it's very easy to do here. We're at a hot surface anyway, we're in Italy, sun's beaming down, it's a clear day. it's gonna be hot temperatures. So yeah, the main thing, just find that rhythm and just get your head down. There's gonna be plenty of overtakes. You're gonna get overtaken. It's fine. Just keep going, keep pushing to the very end.
There you go. Well, of course, not too long to wait. Of course, 10:08 p.m. fellas. Do not ready up until then. And it should be a good one tonight. Like I said, Monza universally loved, I would say, by people. Maybe not by everyone. Not everyone's going to love everything, are they? But I would say about 90% of this grid will have no complaints about Monza here tonight. Even Pollen Breath there in the driver's lounge saying Monza turn 1 in P12. Great with a little crying emoji there. So he's not confident. Bailey saying only track I feel good being at the back. So maybe guys that had a bad quali are somewhat celebrating here. So yeah, Lord help us all in turn 1. I mean, especially Reverse 91, who's racing out of Dubai this evening. He could be maybe the big candidate for a potential retirement due to connection. We hope that it's stable, but he was red barring in the lobby before quali got underway. So we'll cross our fingers for him as well. Part of it saying on the inside too. So if I screw it up, I'm going across turn 1. Well, that's not good. Bailey offering a bounty there, £50 to whoever kills Michael. Well, race coordinator Michael will not be a fan of that one. But Shadow's Gunner seeming like he's interested in that pet. But all good jokes for now as we get ourselves prepared for this one tonight. And again, a big thank you to everyone tonight racing who chose to be here racing with us rather than watching Germany, Paraguay. The only good news for you if you do care about that game is that it's still 0-0. Be quite the story if Paraguay managed to knock out Germany, wouldn't it? Definitely a couple of accumulators would be in the mud. So my well wishes for your bets this evening. All right, then, here we go. We have readied up. We have gone. And this one is officially up and underway, Sergio. Turn 1 is the crisis point. Let's have a look then from this overhead view and see what we can find and who is going to be the unlucky sacrificial lamb, so to speak. Looks pretty good, looks pretty decent, but I think...
Ooh.
Yep, there was it looked too good to be true at some point, and there is death and despair very much there for somebody, and I think it is Tiller in the Ferrari. I mean, that we had it almost kind of last week, didn't we? Remind me if I'm wrong here, Sergio. We had a big name get kind of slapped up in a bad accident or a bad incident early, didn't we? And now it seems like it's Tiller's turn tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't catch what happened, but quite a few cars ghosting there in turn 1, and a fair few ended up going off the track as well. Not through the safety route I thought they would end up taking, actually the other side of the circuit over the grass. But yeah, not the greatest of starts for him. Reverse is out early doors as well, because Reverse actually left the session, or is either being left or kicked early on. P16 at the minute, but AI controlling that car completely.
Yeah, he's just said, oh great, my game crashed as soon as I started the race. Maybe it's that red bar of ping coming back to haunt you in sunny Dubai. However, for now, DomParry and Henry up top with Jamsey just behind him, and the Red Bulls, of course, in 3rd and 4th position. 27 laps. You got a long time here. You don't need to kind of... This is the thing, you know, if you are someone like a Tiller or you are someone like Reverse, Sergio, it's not going to be too much of a big deal where you have a bad start. It's going to determine your race. Reverse is saying, how can I rejoin? Well, you would need to toss in your EA ID or something, and then I think Sergio will be able to invite you back. I think if I do it, then it's going to take all the action off the screen here. So it may be worth pinging that in the Discord, and I can pass it over, or put it in here in the chat, and I can pass it over to Sergio. But yeah, you kind of need to move fast though. Act with severe urgency, or else your race is going to be in a real standstill. And you can already see Pollen Breath there is pitted, gone on to softs already. So one of those. For now, Henry, Chissy and Jamsey 1st, 2nd and 3rd position. DomParry in 4th position. And we're on Chissy cam here for the time being. Pollen Breath will last the first challenge, and let's go. If there's anyone that can do it, Webber, it would be our good pal Stuart, wouldn't it? Big fan of Big Stuarty, but some of the names in this lobby today, oh, I don't know. I think if we can get a top half finish, it's a good day. It's a good day, but there you have it as well. Of course, you can see all the decisions on compounds already. The majority coming out in mediums or hards, with just the one soft. I think the mediums may just about pip the hards, though, as the ghost and the corpse of that red car there very much coming alive. And again, if you are there, reverse, check the GP1 General. Sergio has listed his information there, so add him, get back in ASAP, please. Again, you're only 3 laps in out of 27. There's still a good portion of race to go to recover yourself.
I know we're doing an F1 thing, but I will say your bet builders, they're going in the bin.
Oh, Paraguay winning.
Yeah, I can see from the TV opposite me in the other room that there's a lot of cheering, and it doesn't look like people holding hot dogs.
Oh, mate, I'd say, to be fair, I was thinking Japan were going to do it earlier on, but I was gutted in the second half. But that'd be great if Paraguay could knock out Germany. That'd be huge. Well, for now, the race still up and underway, and Michael, of course, now will sit on in the McLaren. Had a fantastic week last week in race week 1, one of his best. Can he maybe find a way to make it 2 brilliant performances in a row? Ryan Parker has said as well that he's added you, Sergio. I'm going to reverse 91 to say he is in the process of adding you, so those two should be getting back in quick haste as well. For now, we see this bunch up at the top here. Michael is our cameraman. We're lodged right on top of his helmet here as this trio right above. We'll go one more further actually, because now we can just see Chissy overtaking DomParry. As I think it's going to be a real interesting one tonight between these three. They do not look like they're giving each other just even an inch in terms of timing. Quick reminder on the penalties as well. Early doors, 3 seconds for Blazer Guns, 3 for Dylan Evans, 3 for Cons, and 3 for Pollenbreath. So of course Pollenbreath probably going to be a little bit hard done by with his penalty, because he was the victim of a brutal I don't even know what to call it, a brutal collision, I guess. They didn't even know too much about. He just got sideswiped into oblivion, I believe. As Chissy and DomParry continue to have a bit of a joust for second place. Henry is starting to pull away ever so slightly more and more. And this Ferrari tonight could well be about to make his mark. Is Henry another name that we are going to learn to respect as one of the top names? Of course, on the other side of things, you look at maybe Bobby Leons, who had a bit of a difficult situation because he had that qualifying ban. He's currently sat there in 7th position, starting to look like he wants to take over on Jamsey on the straight, and he does indeed get it. Up into 6th he goes. And just as quickly as we start this race, already 5 laps in. It's a very fast one tonight. Monza always gives you that feel where there's no real respite. You blink and you miss 7 laps type feel. As now the McLaren's occupying 4th and 5th. I was a little bit surprised, Sergio, as well, to not see a safety car due to that collision where we saw Tiller's car effectively 180. So maybe with this new update, they've made safety cars a bit more, I don't know, stricter, a little bit more, I don't know, in the background. Because it just feels like some of the stuff we've seen today, some of the stuff we saw last week, the fact that we didn't see a safety car as often as we should have last week surprised me, and then maybe same again here tonight.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when I was looking, I couldn't see any debris on the circuit, so I don't think there was any need for a safety car at that moment in time. But it will be interesting to see if there is any that do come out of this evening, because yeah, I didn't see any debris left until I did get his car moving again. And that's the only reason I could think there wasn't one, is just for the fact that that car wasn't actually stopped or stationary for that long. If it was beached, then it would have been a problem, but because the car was able to move, I think that was the reason why one wasn't called.
Well, for now, 6 laps down, and CB46, who's getting a lot of the plaudits as well from Dark Boulder, wants to see his friend do well tonight. CB is such a good driver on his day. He was so unfortunate last week to have those issues with his internet, which effectively meant that he was not racing on the grid, but he was flying a magic carpet on the grid like he's Aladdin. Was effectively kind of drifting left and right, causing issues left and right. It wasn't his fault, but was forced to retire due to that internet connection. And tonight, well, listen, 6 laps in, 6th place at the minute, not looking too shabby for one of the great prospects of the league. Of course, go down as well to one of the names that Sergio is quite high on, and that's VRT Dylan Evans, 9th position at the minute. but does occupy a penalty. A quick reminder again on the penalties. A couple more have come in. 3 on Blazer Guns, 3 on Dylan Evans, 3 on Tism, 3 on Jacob, 6 on Cons, 3 on Bailey, 3 on Surty, 3 on Lucky, and 3 on Pollen Breath. And of course, Zinc at the bottom there, looking to try and find a way back into this one after a nightmare start as well in the Williams. I mean, I didn't even approach that with you, Sergio, but for you, we know it's dry conditions because of that wet weather bug. Would you have been a medium man or a hard man starting off this one today?
Probably would have been mediums. I feel mediums are a very comfortable tyre to use around here. The only thing you've got to be wary of is obviously the hot temperatures, but I feel like the mediums can go a decent amount of laps around the circuit and not have too many issues. So I think the mediums are a good choice to start on, but the hards are obviously the safest in any circuit to start on, because they're the ones that have the toughest rubber, which is harder to break down.
There you go, straight from the analysis man's mouth himself. And Ryan Parker back in, and seemingly now ready to make a mount and a charge for points here this evening. Tiller, the man that had the horrific incident in lap number 1, still working his best to climb through the grid. 15th as things stand, as it seems like a couple of people have overtaken Blazer Guns there, who I think went off track, and he seems to really, Blazer Guns is really struggling. Something's happened with his car. He can't even steer correctly at this point, so something has got a miss with Blazer Guns, and he may need to look to pit sooner rather than later, because he's struggling. I don't know what it is. The tyres look okay, so it's definitely not puncture, but he is looking like he's struggling on the turnings, and every one of the wings have snapped off into oblivion. Back up the grid though we go. We can talk and have a look at Bailey, of course, as well. Got points for the first time this season last week. It'll be a bit more tricky this week though. So 22 people in the lobby. It's just overtaken. Reverse though to go into 15th. Reverse as well back in the lobby. The Dubai National surviving what was a horrific sequence of events. Start the race and then his game disconnected him. But good news is he's back and now very much able to race and compete to his highest ability. And still, you know, he has 19 laps to finish as high as possible as well. Keiran 19's been a bit of a silent assassin, hasn't he? 9th place. He's loving this quick and great start here tonight. No penalties either. I think that's going to be such an important factor tonight, with the amount of penalties you're already seeing from, you know, people corner cutting or exceeding track limits. To have a clean race could be the difference between maybe 3 or 4 positions. Absolutely. Blazer Guns there as well, pitting and following his teammates. Lead. Pollen Breath going on softs after a nightmare first lap, and now Blazer Guns, and Ryan Parker is seemingly disconnected again. So Ryan Parker tonight on his PC not having a great time. So I fear, Sergio, tonight you may be on a lot of invite duty if it carries on.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I have to admit, I was just looking at the amount of penalties that are coming in, as you just mentioned, and I think the prime spot to get them is actually the final corners there leading into Sector 3. The few S-bends, I think they're the most common place to get them. I've seen a few cars cut the corners there, but no penalties came up immediately, so that might have been their first warning. But that is the easiest spot to cut a corner. I've done it many times myself when racing my GT cars. It's very, very easy to do, and the first chicane as well. That is another place. Oh no, sorry, second chicane. That's a place that's always tricky to know and very easy to again accidentally skip through a corner and potentially cut that corner.
Well, I think the thing is with some of these drivers as well, I think you can allow it maybe once, but it's if you start getting those penalties in the same place repeatedly, then that's when it comes down to a quote skill issue. So hopefully, if you are getting penalties in that specific chicane that Sergio just mentioned, you keep aware and you keep your head on your shoulders, because you may need to slow yourself down a little bit approaching that part of the grid, or the track should I say. For now as well, Ryan Parker saying I'm going to have to stop trying and work the issue out, can't race more than 5 minutes without a new error being thrown at me. I feel for people, but ultimately this is the risk you play when you I always said it, and people hate me for it, and I understand it, but if you are playing a sports game whether it be F1, FIFA, UFC, whatever on PC, you just have to expect that it's just not ever going to work as fluidly as you like, especially after a 6 gig update today. It's the same thing with FIFA. Whenever there's an update day on FIFA, people that play it on PC, they have notorious issues for 24 hours afterwards. So it's, yeah, it's just one of those with Ryan Parker tonight. Well, maybe you have to kind of wave the white flag of surrender and say, I'll go again next week. But yeah, annoying, disappointing, especially for Ryan Parker, who on his day can be such a talented driver as well. CB46 has drifted a little bit further back in the grid, though, down into 12th position now. Of course, though, he will have the jump on Cons, who does have that 3-second time penalty. A little word on Cons as well. You know, the development of Cons for you, Sergio. I know you're a big fan of it. We talked about it a little bit last week, a little bit at the end of last season. But for a guy that was kind of, you know, routinely a season or two ago finishing in the kind of bottom 4, bottom 3 every single time, now he's kind of up there competing for mid-table or competing for points once again tonight. Yes, early doors, 11 laps in that 27, but it's just really good to see the improvement from someone like Cons, isn't it?
Yeah, massive improvement. He was saying in the Discord actually before the race that he used to be good at quali, whereas now he's really struggling with it. Not doing very well at all, but in terms of the racing's improved massively. So it's actually really good to see that, you know, okay, maybe qualifying hasn't gone the best, but that's fine because the racing ability and the control with the car as well is much better than what we've seen previously.
I was really talking there as well. A big penalty just came in. I don't know if you saw it there. DomParry getting a 3-second time penalty. Now that is huge because when you're at the top of the grid, I mean, yeah, in the middle of the grid, the bottom of the grid, you can kind of get away with having the odd penalty here or there. But when you need to be perfect or as close to perfect as you can possibly be, DomParry does not need that 3-second time penalty, and that there is not going to be what he wants to see if he is going to be chasing not just the win tonight, but maybe a podium finish, because Michael is consistently right up behind him again, 4th position as things stand. I think CB46 has just joined the penalty list, so there's the updated penalty grid for you. DomParry with 3, Tism with 3, Jacob and Cons with 6, CB with 3, Surtees with 6, Bailey with 3, Dylan Evans with 3, Lucky with 6, Blazerguns with 6, and Pollen Breath with 3. So far, though, no retirements as of yet. DomParry and Michael have also just gone into the pits. Those 11-lap-old mediums now being exchanged for hards. I think as well for the hard tyre users, 11 laps in for some of them, they're probably going to be able to get away with maybe about 15 or 16 laps before they have to think about maybe changing. You want to take those hards as long as you possibly can before switching over to those mediums. If you can get those hards to, let's say, lap 17, you're in a great position, because then that gives you 10 laps of fresh mediums. You will be absolutely laughing, no doubts. For now, though, Bobby Leon's chasing down Chissy, who seems to be high and away. It's a leisurely Sunday drive for him. Keiran 19, due to those pit stops, has placed himself in at 3rd. And I mean, what a comeback as well. Granted, we've had people pit here, Sergio, but Tiller, after that horrific incident at the start, 12 laps in, he's 4th.
Yeah, very good job, to be fair, from the early accident at the very start of the race. If anything, the Ferrari drivers have done a complete switch, where you've now got Henry down P15 and Tiller up near the top.
I wonder what happened to Henry, because it didn't feel like a minute ago we were talking about him being in the top 3 and he's just kind of dropped on down. Maybe it was a pitting issue, I have no idea, but I just completely became aware of that. And as I talked about, there was no retirement so far, Sergio. We have just had one. Blazerguns there tonight, retiring in the pits, and has finished here 12 laps in out of 27. Disappointing for him, but the way that his car was, he hit the gravel. I saw a little bit of it. He hit the gravel, and he was just not able to recover from there. Had the pit, and ultimately that pit was to retire. So there you go. Unfortunately, not a good one for him. And you got Surtees as well, kicking off uncontrollably. He's saying, I wish we could have a race where people just could use half a brain cell. This is coming from the man that literally uses intermediates as a meme. Take it with a pinch of salt, but we still love Surtees. He's a novelty character, but his frustration's clearly getting the better of him here this evening. For now, scroll through the grid, see what we've got in terms of maybe any nice contests. And Jamsy against Shadow's Gunner, the tail old as time is what we're going to currently sit on here. and wait to see what happens between these two as Tiller just gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. A 10-second penalty, Sergio, is not anything small. I've never seen Tiller get a penalty that big in my life ever. Where do you think that's come from? That's a crazy penalty to get.
Yeah, massive. Well, what I've got here is it's for corner cutting, and my assumption will be the chicanes, the chicanes that catch everyone off guard. I'm just going to check something here because I can tell you what chicane he's got it in. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I can tell you now for a fact it's come in turn 1.
Wow. There you go.
The turn 1 chicane, that is where he's picked up from, because he got that penalty early doors. He's only just come out of the pits, fresh medium tyres, which tells me that 10-second penalty must have come from the first chicane, which again, very easy to cut. You release from the pits on the inside lines. You have to go to the other side of the track to then cut back again. So yeah, a very easy thing to do. Cut the corner on that first chicane, and yeah, it's something that unfortunately has caught him out. But I will say, just behind him, I've got questions about Henry and his race. Well, I've just seen he's missing his entire nose. There's nothing there. So the front of his car are the tyres.
Just on the view, Jesus Lord, yeah.
Yeah, somehow the bottom part of the front wing remains, but the top part is missing. So I have no idea how he's done that. But yeah, somehow he remains with the winglets. So I don't know if that's just a visual bug, maybe. But yeah, what I'm seeing here is very interesting.
I said as well, with you hate to see it for Tiller on that kind of that first sector, but when you play something up, Sergio, and you talk about it in the build-up, and then it happens, you must feel like Nostradamus of the race grid sometimes. You really do. You got to be looking at that and say, hey, shrug your shoulders, I told you so. You got to be careful. But this is what for Tiller as well. Such an experienced driver, such a veteran. Is it unfair to say we expect more of him there, because he has to know about that kind of that particular sector of the grid? He has to be a little bit more, I don't know, not respectful of the track, but maybe a little bit more wise about the track, do you think?
Yeah, potentially. You also got to look at the driver's feelings, as weird as that sounds. The feelings and emotions in the moment. If there's adrenaline going, or if there's almost excitement going. I mean, I have to admit, I'm a bit giddy when I come out of the pits because I'm desperate to get back in that routine. I have to admit, I get shaky legs as well when I'm using my steering wheel and pedals. Just because sometimes I find myself in such a high position. I'm not used to it because I'm normally a mid-pack racer, I have to admit. But yeah, if you find yourself in a decent spot or you're doing fairly well, then it's very easy to have a slight slip-up the moment you come out of the pits, because that does disturb your flow, and the rhythm you may have got into, you've completely lost.
That's fair. I think as well, the interesting part for me now is we are in that as you were so correct when you talked about the first sector, the first turn. Saw it at the very first lap when we saw Tiller have that nightmare. It's ultimately Tiller twice, isn't it? Tiller had that nightmare where his car was 180 in lap 1, and he's had that nightmare now halfway through where he's had that corner cutting penalty. So it is both kind of example points on Tiller this evening. But now this is the part for me where I get a little bit intrigued, because I said, we get to lap 16 and 18, and when there are kind of battles on the grid, people are going to need to be a little bit more aggressive at points. I think now, in these next kind of 11 laps or so, we're going to start to see maybe a couple more people being a little bit brave, being a little bit courageous of what they want to do here. I mean, obviously you can scroll through the grid as we're seeing, and ultimately Zink95, who's ghosting, is right next to. Never mind, not Lucky. I think he's just behind someone that's already lapped him as Zink. But there's no real kind of trains or battles on the grid. You can sit with Michael here, who's just about to try and go for an overtake on CB46, but Michael just has to keep it close because Michael is clean in terms of penalties. CB46 has a penalty, DomParry has a penalty. It'll be such an achievement for Michael. 2 race weeks in a row tonight. If he can find a way to finish in the 4th position, and who knows, if he keeps clean and he gets this one to the end, he may find himself in a podium, because Keiran 19 is going to have to pit at some point, as is Bobby Leon's, as is Chissy. What do you think of Michael's chances tonight here, Sergio, looking at that with 10 laps to go?
Very, very high. With the penalties that are in play as well, a very high chance of potentially a good podium finish. The only thing you've got to sort of keep an eye out for is those top drivers now. Chissy's probably just going to walk with it, if I'm completely honest, with the pace of Chissy. The question is, Keiran and Bobby, you know, what can those guys do? Can they keep themselves out of trouble as well? That's going to be the main thing. Because those people that may have penalties might go aggressive, like DomParry, for example, might go aggressive on the attacks, causing a slip-up potentially from Bobby, which could then bring those other drivers in behind into the mix. You know, Lisp, I would say Jamsy, but he just picked one up as well. And Shadow Gunner, you know, Lisp and Shadow's Gunner have the best chance at the minute of a podium if any one of those top three do slip up now and gain any kind of penalty.
We'll say as well, for Bobby and Leon to have that qualifying ban and now to just, you know, with 10 laps to go, time this change onto mediums so brilliantly. It's difficult to kind of say this guy isn't going to be one of the future kind of greats in this league, no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation. He just finds a way to pull out the bag, and it looks like he's going to be doing that again here tonight. I will say one quite kind of, and I need you to help me understand this a little bit, because I don't understand what CB46 did a moment ago, because what CB46 did, as Surtee there retires in the pit lane, but what CB46 did was he had kind of, you know, the top 5 wrapped up, and he's pitted on 8 lap hold mediums to go into fresh hards. What is your opinion on that with 9 laps to go? Was that a necessity? Should he have went onto fresh mediums? Well, how would you have dealt with that?
I think, well, looking at how many laps to go, it's an interesting choice. The question is, let's have a little look here and see if I can justify it in any way, shape or form. No, I can't. So, no, I can't quite figure out. Well, I thought maybe if everyone's doing a 2-stop, maybe he's trying to go for a 1-stop, but that's not even the case at all. You've not even got half the grid doing 2 stops. So, not too sure, if I'm completely honest. The only thing I can try and think of is potentially it's found he's burning through mediums way too quick. It's gone to hards to be safe, and hoping maybe some other people have the same issue. So he's pitted early, get up to speed. Tyres going to be warm, slightly worn in as well, giving him better grip. That's my only thing behind it. Apart from that, I have no clue why that's happened.
There you go. As well, the other thing as well that happened just a moment ago, I would say about 15 or so seconds ago, is that DomParry had a little bit of an issue and went off track, but luckily enough for him, he's still around about 4 seconds ahead of Michael, but he does have that 3-second penalty to also compete with. A reminder as well, you're just joining us, penalty check here with lap 19 of 27 about to come to a conclusion. There it is, 3 seconds for DomParry, 10 for Jamsy for an excessive corner cut, 3 for Dylan Evans, 10 for Tiller, the same corner. I think that maybe Jamsy got clicked on in sector 1. CB46 with 3, Tism with 3, Jacob with 6, Cons with 6, Bailey with 3, Reverse with 3, Pollenbreath with 3, Zinc with 3, and Lucky with 3, and the 2 retirees so far, Surtee and Blazergun. So it's been a night of penalties, but it's not been a night of safety cars. We still haven't had a single one, nothing deemed too egregious or too dangerous by the commission to send out a safety car, and I think that will make a lot of the drivers very happy here this evening. And I'll tell you this much right now, if Michael can just keep this steady for the next 8 laps, he is going to be finding himself in such a prosperous position going into race week 3. Wouldn't say Michael is, as of yet, in the McLaren a contender for the championship, but this would categorically be Michael's best start to a season since he's got involved, and that there will be absolutely music to his ears. But it won't be music to Lucky 13's ears, though, who's just picked up a 3-second penalty. But now we'll stick with Jamsy as well. He's got that 10-second penalty, but a overtake their attempt on on Shadows, excuse me, puts us onto Shadows Gunner, who now goes for one right back on Jamsy and does get it. Shadows Gunner in that Mercedes tonight, looking sharp as ever. Is there anyone that you're looking at here then, Sergio, with 7 laps to go and you're saying to yourself, poor tyre strategy, what have you done? Maybe Henry, 12 lap old hards, he's got to get to 19 laps with those hards, maybe 20 depending on where he is on the grid. Do you have a little bit of fear for him, or do you think he's good enough to kind of handle that? Same for maybe someone like a DomParry and a Michael. Can they go to 15 lap old hards and still keep their pace, their position, or do you think someone in the grid has made a cock up of their strategy so far?
Well, in Henry's term, I don't think he's made an error. For any tactics here. I think, if anything, he's protecting himself at the moment because, I don't know if it's a visual bug. There's a high chance that he might have a full nose, but for me, he's missing that entire nose, that's going to be a front wing replacement, which will cost him a lot of valuable time in the pits. Now, he is cruising up the grid at the minute with no issues at all. So again, it could be a visual bug just because he's had contact with someone and that part of the car is missing for whatever reason. It's EA. Yeah, that probably is a bug. But he is cruising massively at the minute. If he is missing it, however, though, that is going to cost him time. That is time that he can't afford to lose. So it might be a case of he's just going to try and run these hard to the end of the race. So that might not be poor tactics. It might just be poor timing in terms of he's had a collision just after swapping tyres. Now if he goes back in, he knows he's going to lose a ton of time and finish towards the rear of the grid, which is not what anyone wants. But also, F1 and the league in general throws all sorts of things at you. There'll be races where we're unexpecting to see any safety cars at all, and then all of a sudden we get 3 in the space of first 5 laps, and that changes everyone's strategies completely because you know your tyres aren't worn, and people do try and pit under safety cars normally as well. So the different things get thrown at you, and different tactics get moved out of play all the time. But yeah, I think it's just damage management for a lot of it as well. There's a lot of penalties out there at the same time. Some of those penalties are going to be ones you can sit and see out and get rid of by sitting in the pits. But again, it'll be a tactical decision on what people decide to do, whether they just get it added on to the end because they feel they're quick, or they just take it now and just see what they can do recovery-wise.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I think as well, the interesting thing for me is just to see exactly where with all the penalties that there are, is just where Henry is going to finish. I think where Henry finishes tonight is going to be so pivotal for the team constructors in regards to Ferrari. I mean, you have to give props and shouts to Chissy, Bobby Leons, Michael, Henry, Shadows Gunner, Keiran 19, Ryan Parker, just for their incredibly clean driving tonight. Because like you said there, with the amount of penalties that people have gotten for corner cutting, track limits, speeding in the pit lane, whatever you want to call it, it's happened here tonight. And I'll tell you this much, for 22 laps of I would say light chaos with these penalties, for those drivers to be completely clean, world class, that shows you that you've got a great bit of racing IQ on your shoulders and inside your brain. Absolutely. I have to ask you, and this may change, Sergio, so don't feel like you're bound by this answer, but 22 laps in, going into 23 out of 27, who is your driver of the day so far and why? Who are you liking?
I feel I'm stupid if I don't say Bobby, because
I think bang on, but that's the only answer.
Yeah, because I mean, the close second for me would be
Henry,
Senor Lisp. To be honest, it's both the McLaren drivers.
Michael.
Because don't get me wrong, Chizzy again, amazing job as normal.
But you expect
but
it.
You do expect it. Not only that, again, this is not trying to take away any credit, and I'm not trying to say win the race is easy, because it's bloody not. But when you're out in front, it is a lot easier to avoid collisions than what it is when you're in amongst the racing and the pack.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're leading the pack, you've got clean air. Everyone else doesn't. So Bobby going obviously from last to first almost, that phenomenal job. Driver of the day right there. Close second, definitely Michael. No penalties, up to fourth, just outside the podium. Could potentially see a podium depending on the pace of these last few laps. So I think a very close second is Michael, just because Michael, respectfully, isn't a name we're always talking about in terms of podium spots. So a fantastic show there, and again, penaltyless at the minute. So, you know, touch wood, not jinx him, but again, a fantastic job. Both of McLaren's a quality team display.
Yeah, again, we were concerned, weren't we, when we saw that Dirty Hippo had a great week last week, his actual McLaren partner not being here because Germany are playing. We thought, well, this could be a sore one. You know, they had a great week last week, the McLarens. What happens now? Do they go back to mid-table mediocrity? Michael kind of saying, no, don't you worry. I'll carry us today. 4th position, potentially 3rd position if he can pull some time on DomParry would be excellent for him. And yeah, I said it before, I say it again, man. This Bobby Leon's kid, we didn't know too much about him at the end of last season, but we know a lot about him already now, and that is that he is absolutely world class. And I think when you look at that top 3, I think that just shines a light on how great of a talent pool we have. Where we've got this kind of real contest and conversation now about Chissy, Bobby and DomParry. If Keiran was here, Jesus, could you imagine the kind of racing that we would be seeing? It's a shame that Keiran isn't here. It's a shame if Keiran is going to effectively say that's my championship secured, no more F1 for me. Who knows if that is the case, but I would love to see Keiran on this grid. I would have loved to see him in that kind of that 4th or 5th position also battling out. But then again, you've got these up-and-comers as well, like Jamsey, Henry, who for me deserves a huge amount of credit as well, because we were talking about Henry last week in the Ferrari, like Tiller made this horrific decision, like he abandoned or kicked out Shadow's Gunner, and he picked up some random homeless person off the street in Henry because of how he was performing. Well, I'll tell you this much, he silenced a lot of critics today, because Henry is rocked up 6th position, probably going to maybe get 5th position if Jamsey is a bit of a nightmare, but just to kind of have that kind of consistency. He was 1st and he dropped to 15th in the middle of the race, and me and Sergio both sat here thinking, oh, what's happened? Is Henry going to be able to recover this? Now to kind of be there with 2 laps to go in the points, in 6th place, especially when Tiller has had a nightmare. Again, a reminder, Tiller with 13 seconds of penalties. That is such a huge performance from the Ferraris. I think you've got to give him a lot of credit and a lot of plaudits here tonight as well. But yeah, Bobby Leons, he may not win the race, but I mean, hell of a performance from him today. And for Chissy, again, our great champion of multiple seasons, it almost feels rude to say, well, standard Chissy, but we expect it, and that's what greatness looks like when you do it so consistently and so effortlessly and so flawlessly, like Chissy has done with no penalties. That's just what you expect. That's what you want to see from Chissy. That's the kind of Chissy that I think Bobby Leons wants to have on the grid with him to beat in a good, in a fair way. I don't think he wants Chissy to be at half ability, and that's what makes the kind of the joust between these two so important. I think it's one other kind of shout to give. Dylan Evans and CB46. Yes, they've got penalties, but 7th and 8th. Sergio said that Dylan Evans was kind of his kind of dark horse, his kind of enigma, the mystery of the grid. He's proven Sergio right, because in 7th position, that's a fantastic finish if he can get there. CB46 as well, bouncing back from last week's disappointing internet issue filled race to now very much being in the points here, as long as he can kind of stave off any late pressure from maybe Shadow's Gunner, but it would be difficult to make up that much time with only 1 lap to go. And again, in Monza, no safety cars, surprisingly, especially after that first lap. I thought, well, we're going to get one, but no safety cars, a lot of penalties, and only 2 retirements to the 22 driver grid. Granted, of course, you can maybe say a little bit more because Ryan Parker struggled to get back in, and you could say, well, Zink ghosted and all this kind of stuff, but I still think it's a pretty decent show out here tonight, fellas, and it's only going to get more intriguing as we go throughout the season. Remember, only 2 race weeks in, still 8 to go. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to kind of take that top spot. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the teams in particular. Look again tonight, talk about teams. Yes, Bobby Leons won't count and contribute to the McLaren because he's not the actual McLaren driver, but the McLaren in 4 for Michael. Talk about the Audi tonight, 3rd and 7th as it stands. The Ferrari 5th and 9th, although we know Tiller's going to drop down. I think it's a very intriguing one in terms of that team constructors conversation. And when we start to get a feel for that table, we didn't show you the team constructors table this week, but when we start to get maybe a bit more race data in there, we can evaluate it in race week 3, race week 4. I think you're going to see some real tight battles of that as well. We went down to the last race in season 4. I think we're going to see the exact same again this season. I really, really do. Serti saying as well, bench warmer is VRT Dylan. Oh, there you go. So we know that name. So that's who VRT Dylan is, Sergio, bench warmer.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, it is a familiar name. And, well, to be fair, hitting decent targets then.
Yeah, it's
warmer.
Yeah, it's about kind of where you expect him to be. 5th to 8th is usually where I put bench warmer with the improvement that he's had. So, again, maybe not the enigma of the track, maybe just a new name that's kind of flummoxed us. But yeah, I mean, another standard brilliant performance there from Benchwoman. I know there's Dylan Evans here this evening. Well, listen, we can sit on board with Chissy, who is moments away from crossing the finish line as the Monza winner here in Season 5, Race Week 2. He is so dangerous in a good way when he's feeling up for it on race night. And luckily enough, or maybe unluckily enough for some of you tonight, he was feeling it. But there you go, the Red Bull about to cross the line. And Chissy, surprise, surprise, race winner once again. Congratulations to him. Commiserations to Bobby Leons, who will say maybe he deserved a little bit more after that terrible race qualifying ban that he got. But like Sergio said, to go from all the way at the bottom of the grid to the top, he's got to be, has to be, your driver of the day. DomParry, for now, has finished in 3rd position there. Keiran 19 has just got a 3-second warning, 3-second penalty, right at the end, which is not great for him, but I think he'll still be happy with his performance. For Michael, I mean, wow, 2 race weeks in a row that Michael has looked phenomenal. 4th position, one of his highest finishes that we've seen. Jams has just taken a 10-second penalty there, which means that Henry takes 5th position, CB takes 6th, benchwarmer Dylan Evans takes 7th, and Jamsy there has taken 8th, with now Tiller set to reveal to us where he's going to finish, and he will drop down because Shadow's has just pipped Tiller into 9th position, as you'd expect. So the top 10 pretty much there on your screen as it stands. Chissy, Bobby, Dom, Michael, Henry, CB, Dylan Evans, Jamsy, Shadow Scudder, and Tiller. I think still for Tiller to have that horrific incident in lap 1 and also the 10-second corner cutting penalty to finish in the points, I mean, fair play. That deserves a bit of a shout as well from the Irishman. A good strong one there tonight. And for Keiran, if he didn't get that 3-second time penalty at the end, could he have maybe pipped Tiller to 10th? Only hindsight will be able to answer that one. But for tonight, that is race week 2 done. That is the Monza GP done. And let me tell you, I'm excited as anything for next week, because when we talk about next week, it's one of the most controversial tracks. It is, of course, Saudi Arabia. So many people love Saudi, hate Saudi. It's in the middle. It's boring. It's exciting. There's so many conflicting and contrasting opinions about Saudi Arabia. That's a great warm-up then for race week 4, which is, as we like to call it, the VFL Deathmatch in Baku. So that's, yeah, not going to be one that people will be happy with. But for tonight, we focus on what's in front of us in the present, and that is that Chissy has once again secured a race victory. Sergio, overall, no safety cars, a lot of penalties. Was it about what you expected, or was it maybe a little bit underwhelming for you? What do you think?
No, I think it was a good race. It was actually quite nice to watch, to be fair. It was quite pleasing on the eye, fairly clean for the most part. Yeah, don't get wrong, a lot of penalties, but it's almost somewhat expected when you look at some of the chicanes on that circuit. They are common corners to get penalties in. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a decent race overall, to be fair. And I think our German that missed the race will be quite happy he did, to be fair, because Germany just equalised. But
oh, have they? Okay, there you go then.
Yeah, so no, I think everyone that took part did a very good job, and hopefully everyone did actually enjoy it. I know there was a couple of angry people after the turn 1 shenanigans, but apart from that was the main collision we could see. So very well done.
Absolutely, I echo that as well. And again, a massive congratulations to Chissy and also Bobby Leons. What a phenomenal race those two have had. We won't hold you for too long, fellas. Enjoy the Germany-Paraguay game. It's still on. The whole second half to go. Remember, though, if you do want to report anything, Michael has opened the steward room clips. Make sure you submit everything in there if you want to report anything and report someone. You've got until 11 o'clock UK time, 11 p.m. UK time tomorrow night. So please submit anything that you want to submit in there. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, same people. Me and Sergio will be here for Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much again for giving us your time tonight, for missing the first half of the World Cup and racing with us. Take care, take it easy, and we'll see you when we see you. Congratulations again, Chissy, and good night. We're out.